telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello.
Hey, Sava, my man.
Hey, Ricky, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing good. And yourself?
So far so good. I got no complaints. My wife just came back into town with my daughters. They were gone for a few days. Definitely was looking forward for them to come back. The house has been kind of quiet without them here.
Cool.
So I've been thinking, if you wouldn't mind sharing any stories about your experiences when you were in Wasco AdSec, with any
Yeah,
any stories that you could share with us. Really appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. Uh, I've done a lot of time in Wasco Hole over the years, and unfortunately, I've had the responsibility of running that ad seg for the white inmates on several occasions, and during the when you're basically calling shots for the whole, anything that goes on there, you're signing your name saying, you're authorizing something to happen, whatever it is. And I remember this one, the last time I was there, it's in, I believe it was 2000, in the summer of 2001. I had the responsibilities of the whole, and we were all out on the group yard, and the makeup of the group yard is mechanics, and we all program together, and we also work out together. But also in that process is because we're out there with another ethnic group, we make sure that everybody shows respect with one another, and that we usually don't get people on our ad seg yards that's not validated, but this particular year, this white guy, I don't think he had his thoughts, his mind was all there. He was a little crazy, and he wound up assaulting a correctional sergeant right there in the reception center. So when they brought him back to ad seg, they put him on the validated yard with all of us, all the guys that I just mentioned. And usually when that happens, they do it for a reason. On an institutional level, he's not validated, so he should have never been placed on our yard because he wasn't classified like us. And we did our best in making sure that he was showing respect to the mom time, but there were times during yard where things got hectic a few times, not following orders, not following the routine, kind of jay-catting out and things like that. And in prison, you're bound by the rules and regulations of the prison gangs that are running that yard. And if you start making people uncomfortable, then there's a good chance you're going to get hurt. And I believe that he was intentionally put on our yard because the power.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
The sergeant that had got hurt, I think there was some retribution wanting to be done with this guy. So they placed him on our yard knowing that he was going to get hurt. And I happened to have the responsibilities of that administrative segregation hall at that time. And sure enough, this guy was on our yard for maybe a couple of months, and we all knew what the purpose was. We knew why he was placed on our yard, because he wasn't going to follow the rules. And when you're in prison on that kind of yard, you must follow the rules, because if you don't, then you're going to get hurt, because you're setting a bad example for other people. And I feel bad about it today. I felt bad about it the time that it happened, but not following the orders, not following the routine, because we do a yard routine before every yard where we all line up and we do exercises together, and we're in cadence, almost like a drill sergeant type situation, where you will see Marines doing exercises as the drill sergeant's calling out the exercises. That's kind of like our ad seg is. You got the guys calling the routine and everybody's doing it. And this guy simply wasn't doing the routine. He was doing his own thing, and he had become aggressive with a couple of the Southern essays who felt a little threatened by him. And we knew it was a matter of time that this was going to happen, that he was a bit of a, like I said, like a bit of a rebel, kind of crazy, and wanted to do his own thing, things like that. But it was my responsibility to make sure that he followed the rules, and if he didn't, then I had to order his a hit on his life, because that's really what you're doing when you're making a move on somebody in prison. You're actually making a move on their life. And I made a decision. Although it was a group decision, ultimately, it fell on me to make the decision, man, that we had to remove this dude off the yard before he hurt somebody. And that's what we did. I asked this guy who was a penile skinhead to remove the guy from the yard. And the next day, the next yard that we went out to yard, this guy was attacked, and a straight razor was taken to his throat, and he was cut. He was cut right by his jugular, under his ear there, and it was a big old gaping slash that laid his neck open. And he started running around the yard, panicking, afraid for his life, and he ran up to the fence where the COs who were monitoring the yard, and he was pleading for his life. And the CO there had a canister of pepper spray, and he opened it. It's called the fogger. It looks like a fire hydrant, or excuse me, like one of those fire canisters, extinguishers. It's about that size. And he just opened this fogger. It's called a fogger. He opened it up on this guy and just gassed him from head to toe. And this fogger got inside the guy's wound where he was sliced open. And the guy was screaming, pleading for his life. And he was attacked a couple of more times before everybody proned out on the ad seg yard. And so when the officers came out to get this guy and put him on the gurney, in that process of rushing him to the infirmary, they actually dropped him off the gurney a couple of times. And, I personally think it was intentional, because he was an ad seg for assaulting a sergeant. And, the guy was he wasn't mentally there. He wasn't mentally fit. He had mental problems, and that's why he was put on our yard, because they knew at some point that he was going to make a mistake and not follow the rules out there. And, as a gang member, you're trying to make the best decision you can for you and your people, and not create a problem for other races that may be on your yard with you. And because this guy was so aggressive and a bit of a rebel, he was making everybody uncomfortable on the yard. And the Hispanics had talked to us a couple of times, telling us that they were uncomfortable with the guy on the yard, and even some of the white guys that were on the yard at that time were uncomfortable too. And ultimately, it came to my decision. I had to make a decision, and it was a bad decision. It wasn't a decision that I wanted to make, because I know he was placed on our yard for a reason, and it was because they knew we were gonna make an attempt on his life at some point. And did he have that coming? Absolutely not. But prison politics are cutthroat, and if you don't follow the rules in prison on an active yard, there's consequences to that. And unfortunately, for him, and I had to make the call to get him removed from the yard. Now he did survive, that attempt on his life, but that was one of those calls that I look back on that I wish I didn't make. I wish there was another alternative, but active gang member and having the responsibility of the yard and of the entire ADSEG, and basically the entire prison at that time, because Wasco State Prison is ran from the administrative segregation unit. So there's a lot of responsibility for anybody who's calling shots. And that was one of the decisions I made when I was an active gang member. And it didn't have to happen, but that was something that I did at that time. And I could tell you, man, today I'm absolutely remorseful for injuring this man, because he didn't have it coming, and I'm happy that he survived.
Normally, somebody in this situation, if the SEALs would have not set him up, what kind of a yard should he been on?
Well, he should have been placed on walk alone, or they have another yard that's adjacent to ours where the general population is. But even if they would have put him on the other opposite yard to ours, the same thing would have happened, because they were under the same rules and regulations as all of us. And we all had soldiers on those yards too, that this guy was going to eventually get aggressive with people on the other yard. And so the outcome was going to be the same. But if he
Seems to be some issues
walked
with.
by himself.
Sorry,
Huh?
Ricky, you
Say
got
that again?
you got cut off there from like about 10 seconds.
Oh, so because he had mental health problems, he should have been placed on the yard all by himself.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
But a lot of times what happens is mental health inmates are placed in general population situations where staff get injured, like he attacked a sergeant and hurt a sergeant, or he attacks and hurts another inmate. So these guys with mental health problems really need to be placed in a mental health.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
Because their life's in danger, not only from other inmates, but because they got mental health problems.
Wow, man. Yeah, that's definitely you're between a rock and a hard place. Making a decision like that. And if you would have not made that decision or a call like that, what would have that meant for you at that time?
Well, let's say we're on the yard, and a riot kicks off, and that member gets hurt. Well, that falls on me. I'm now responsible for this man getting hurt, because this guy right here is aggressive, and he has mental problems. So There's that, and it would have fallen on me, and I could have potentially been hurt myself.
All right, and I do see the comments that you guys have put up there. As soon as Ricky calls back again, I'll go ahead and read them off, and I do appreciate you guys keeping the chat going. It does definitely help out in promoting this channel, and just want to go ahead and thank all of you, for helping out with that. And he should be calling back shortly. It normally doesn't take that long for them to call back. So once he calls back, I'll go ahead and read off all the comments, and we'll go ahead and continue with his story. Yeah, unfortunately for myself, I had to work. So I mean, I guess things could be worse.
This call is now being
This
recorded.
is Global Tel Link. You have a prepaid call from
Ricky Black.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel Link.
All right, Ricky, thank you for calling us back. And before we continue with this story, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to everybody that's been supporting us here today. First person in here was Mikey Mike, and he put yo. And then we have man, sorry, I've been calling you the wrong name for the last few weeks. So we have Marlene, and she put, hello Ricky, this is Gary's cousin. So Marlene is Gary's cousin.
All right.
All right, and then we also have M-Star
All right.
Media.
Hi.
She's sending salutes to you and to myself. And then we also have Mad Max 408. He's sending his saludos. And then Marlene was asking about asking if this mentally ill person should have been in that yard, but you covered those you cover your bases on that before you finish up the story. And then let's see who else we have in here. And let me see. And then everybody was kind of like shocked, so like M-Star Media was putting damn, wow, or Marlene put wow. And then M-Star Media put that, of course, it was intentional that this inmate was put there. He was there to to get hurt. And then we have Drew P. Huevos. He sends saludos, and Mikey Mike put that he hopes that we all had an amazing weekend. And all right, then, and that was pretty much it for the comments. And I'll go ahead and let you take over the mic and continue with your story.
Yeah. So right. I send mine to everybody that's listening, and thank you for tuning in. Absolutely. That was just one situation. That there's many more that I could speak on, but I didn't call the shots on some of these other ones. But this was something. I like to talk about the things that I've personally done myself, and not what other people have done, because I don't want to put them out there. But this was one of those situations that this guy should have never been placed on our yard, because when you're a validated gang member, only validated gang members are supposed to be placed on your yard. That's it. We were segregated from the main population and placed on our own yard. And so anyone that comes in per Sacramento.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
They have to be classified as a validated gang member to be placed on our yard. And he clearly wasn't. And, we all knew, we talked about it in advance that, we knew what was up. But, it's one of those situations where, the guy, he was, he was a big guy, and he wasn't someone to be fooled with. Tell him what he could have done, and had he decided to assault one of us or another race, and what potentially that could have done, and a lot of people's lives could have been hurt at that time, and unfortunately it was him, and but that's just one instance, one of the things that happened in here that hopefully and this happened in 2002, and hopefully things don't like that happen don't happen as often as they did back then, but that's just one of those things, man, that I personally was in, and I really feel bad about, so
And
especially now where I'm at in my life. Go ahead.
one of the reasons that I wanted you I wanted you to share a story or stories like this was just to give like the audience that's never been never been to prison, or hopefully they never go to prison, kind of like an idea of the things that happen that are out of your control. When you're in an environment like this, you're at
Yeah.
other people's mercy. You don't have a control over a lot of the things that you do on a daily basis. And there's a bunch of rules. Not only are there rules from the administration, there's also the unwritten rules within the population, if you will.
Yeah. You're so right about that. And, I really want families, any families that are listening, understand when your brother comes in, or your son comes in, or your husband or cousin, and they're really young, they're really at the mercy of the prison politics, because you have to make your own way. You got to build your own respect. You got to build your own rapport with the powers to be. And there's no favoritisms, not unless, you're hooked up and your uncle or your dad or your cousin's hooked up. Someone like me coming in, my whole family had been in prison. And so, I kind of had it easy. And, there's a lot of young guys that come in, man, and they're faced with a lot of scary situations in prison. And prison, for the most part, is easy. It's like high school or junior high. It's real easy, but there's those days where it becomes very violent, and a lot of youngsters get caught up in the mix. And I've had young friends lose their life in here, and I've seen young guys getting taken advantage of, and I've also seen young guys catch life sentences in here just because they're in the wrong cell with the guy that has to be hit. And no one wants to be a target. Nobody, if you don't do something that you're asked, as a youngster, you might be attacked. And so you're trying to keep your name good, and you don't want your family hear that you're a punk or you're a sissy or any of those things. And and then so you're just trying to make the best decisions you can to survive, initially. And a lot of youngsters come in, man, and they're at a disadvantage because of the older convicts that are in here and the gangs that are running the prison. And there's, like I said, there's a lot of young guys that have caught life sentences that are never going home because of that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's the sad truth. It's happened to many people, and it'll probably continue to happen, until people start figuring out that they don't want to be in these places. These places are not to be glorified or fun or anything like that. You're just pretty much a walking paycheck or walking money bag. At the end of the day, you're giving jobs to the COs and putting their kids through school, and at the end of the day, you end up losing years of your life, or possibly your life, being in these places.
Yeah. Like I said, man, prison isn't dangerous until it is. So there'll be 364 days out of the year where The prison functions perfect. And then there's that one day where everything blows up and it gets really violent and it's dangerous for everybody, not only for inmates but for staff too. So, there's a, big misconception that prison's violent, and you got all this stuff going in here. If you come in here and you follow all the rules and you keep your head down and do your own thing, you could really make it out of here. You could really make it out of here, man. And it's hard. It's not easy. A lot of my friends that are in here that are doing life, going aboard, we've all made mistakes and we're paying the consequences for those mistakes. But there is a way out, and you can, God willing, you can make the right decisions and get out of here, but you can. And it's not all bad. It's not all violent all the time. But there are politics that everybody must follow. And if you don't follow them, there's repercussions. And today what's happening is people are getting punished by payments. Pay $5,000 and you can stay on the yard.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
And that money comes from families who have to pay that money, who don't have it themselves. And when the family don't have the money, well, the next time somebody has to be targeted, then you have to go assault somebody just to clean your own mess up, right? So, but there is a way, man. It's getting better in here little by little, especially with all the new laws. People are trying to go home, so there's a lot of new incentives for people, man. But we have those situations with the mental health, guys that come in and early in my career, that was 22 years ago that I made that decision to assault this guy, and I'm sure that altered his life in some way, but I've made other decisions that that was just one. I made a couple of more, in other prisons that I'm not happy with either. That was part of politics, and it's just the nature of the beast in here. Everybody's just trying to survive and get by, and I want to go home to be with my family too, just like everybody else, and we're all making decisions in here that are really life and death sometimes. And unfortunately, man, some people, they wind up on the wrong side of that decision. So, like I said, man, it's unfortunate, but it's survival in here. At the end of the day, you're trying to survive and protect yourself.
And I have a question for you. But I did see a question pop up from Mikey Mike, one of our watchers here. And he's asking, is Ricky still active? And I'm gonna throw something out there. Yeah, Ricky is active. He's actively going to school. He's actively trying to get out of prison. He's doing all kinds of stuff that's keeping him active, right?
Yeah, I'm absolutely active in my own life and my own rehabilitation. And to answer that question in the way that it was asked, I surely wouldn't be divulging this kind of information if I was. I'd be getting in trouble. So anyone that is sharing this kind of information, they could be in trouble for sharing it if they are active in that way. But I've retired from most politics in here, and I'm now a peer mentor, and I mentor guys that are going to board, and also any youngster who needs that needs help in making the right decisions so they can go home to be with their family. And I've done it time and time again. I exercise a lot. I've been exercising for the last 30 years. I like it when the young guys come out and want to exercise and hang out with me because I'm a positive influence for them. And I've learned a lot. I know how to make it and survive in prison. without throwing people under the bus, without putting yourself in bad situations, with rehabilitating yourself, with, finding your own recovery, if you're struggling with any kind of addictions. And I like to share that with some of the younger guys, man, that are coming through, that are struggling. So I always take time out for them if I have an opportunity to.
And just to add my 2 cents to what Ricky just said about him, you wouldn't be divulging this information if you were still on the other side. Yeah. As far as I'm aware, anybody that does interviews like this that's currently incarcerated, that is in the Department of Corrections in California, they're not gonna be, on that,
You have 60 seconds remaining.
they're not gonna be in good graces if they were speaking about things like this. It wouldn't end good for them. And the stories that I have heard of people speaking up, it didn't end well for them. And if they do speak about it when they come out into the streets, if they go back in, it's also not going to end good for them. So anybody that talks about these type of stories, whether they like it or not, if whatever side they're on, they're going to end up on one side only. It's either 6 feet deep or on the other side, as they call it.
Or you could receive a federal indictment because all of our phone conversations are recorded, right?
that is true. Yeah.
So there's a downside to it for everybody.
All right. So the 15 minutes were up, and he should be calling us back shortly, and then we'll go ahead and continue. I have another question for him, so hopefully he could go ahead and answer that when he does call back. And one of the reasons that I did ask him that question was just to kind of give people the insight as far as the things that tend to happen behind the walls. I know these things don't happen all the time, but if you do go there, it's a good there's a good possibility that you might witness something like this or be part of something like this. So, if you value your life and your freedom, I wouldn't recommend, going down that route.
This call is
This
now
is
being
Global
recorded.
Tel-Link. You have a prepaid call from
Ricky Black.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
All right, Ricky. Thank you for calling back in. And let me see. So I have another.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Also, I have I think 2 questions right now. So the first one's gonna be for Marlene. All right, Marlene. I gotta keep on repeating it, or not. My brain's gonna make me blur out another name. So she wants to know if the tablets and unlimited free calls have helped the inmates to be to be motivated to come home or do better.
I don't, like, me personally, it hasn't motivated me to do better because I already began this process myself. So way before the tablets came out, I don't see it as a motivational tool for the guys that are coming in right now because they get here and then they get a tablet. It's like part of your property that they give you. So it's like it comes with your cell. Like you come to your cell, you got a mattress, you got a pillow, and you got a tablet. So it's just part of what you get here. And so I don't think so. I don't think it's a motivating factor in that way, but I do think it really helps people connect with their family and their loved ones in a way that they couldn't in the past. because of the financial strain with phone bills and stuff. But there's also a downside to these tablets, and I've witnessed it time and time again where you'll hear guys late at night cussing out their girlfriends or their wives on the phone, using unflattering language and calling them names and downgrading them and putting them down for whatever reason. And I see a lot of that in here, people, for some reason mistreating whoever they're talking to on the phone, calling them the B word and all kinds of stuff. And it's pretty sad because this is a good opportunity to really connect with your loved ones and sit in your cell like I'm doing right now and having a conversation with you for free, unlimited. And it's a great opportunity for any of these guys coming in,
Yeah, yeah. When I found out about the tablets and whatnot, I signed up and I noticed how easy it was, to go ahead and get in contact with my friends, and I thought it was cool. But then, like you said, yeah, it could have a negative impact when people use it like that to I guess you could use it as a tool to control your wife or your girlfriend or
Yeah.
other people. Yeah, so if you use it like that, yeah, I guess it wouldn't be a good thing. But on the other hand, if you use it for the right reasons, to keep in contact with your family, your wife, your children, it could definitely be a positive thing.
Yeah, I agree.
And also I had let me see, I saw some other questions. Let me bring them up on the screen here. Let me see here. So Mikey Mike wants you to know that that's amazing to hear, and I wish him nothing but the best. And I'm guessing it was like on the last question that he asked you, and he also wants to know if you have a date or if you're a lifer. He says, "Sorry for all the questions. I just don't know." So it's a new name, so I don't think he's been on one of the lives before. So that's what he's asking.
Oh, I appreciate the questions and keep them coming. I mean, it's what makes this thing work. This podcast that James set up. Without the questions, this goes nowhere. So I appreciate the questions, Mike. I'm actually serving two life sentences for crimes that I committed, and I've been to board twice. I got a 5-year denial, and my last board I got a 3-year denial, and I'm looking to go back to board sometime next year. And as long as I keep doing the work that I'm doing today on the path that I'm on, hopefully God will bless me with the opportunity of gaining my freedom once again.
All right. Thank you for answering that. And then he also put, thank you. I appreciate you for asking him. And then we have Juan Carlos Dominguez Cifuentes, and he put, yo, was good people. And then let me see who we have. And then Juan Carlos again, he's dropping a message that he was there. He was in Centinela D Yard back in 2010.
Yeah. Yeah, so he knows. He was on the 3 yard over here, which is an active yard. So he knows exactly what we're talking about the politics and the way they work, and how things go, We all hope that freedom. And I facilitate groups, and I'm involved in other groups too, where I always take the initiative to speak and share my testimony, man. And a lot of times, I hear these guys speak in here, and they speak in a way it sheds a bad light on who they are as an individual and the way that they treat their families, from in here, especially addicts. Because people, they come in here and they lose hope of ever going home, and they get addicted to drugs. And and they take advantage of their families a lot and have them pay a lot of money. And I always try to share my testimony with guys and try to show them that there's a better way of living your life in here, because you can make right decisions. You can make good choices for yourself, to where you can go home and be a better family member to your family, because at the end of the day, we all want to go home and be with our family. They're the most important people in our life. But a lot of times when you're in prison, that's hard to put into action. Like, you value your family and you love them and you want to be there for them, but we're faced with so much adversity in here that sometimes it's hard to make the right decision. And this guy that was on the B yard in 2010 sounds like he's made some good decisions, and he's back at home with his family. And things like that happen. But I'm sure
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
it's this is no cakewalk. It's no cakewalk. It can happen, and we can get out, but it takes a lot of hard work.
And then Juan, I just put right now. He put send Ricky my best to stay strong and keep pushing.
Thank you.
All right, and then
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ricky. And I'm gonna continue. So I had another question. If I remember correctly, when you were telling me your life story, from when you were a child and up until you ended up in prison. If I recall correctly, you mentioned that you were in Corcoran SHU.
Yeah, I did about 12 years in Corcoran SHU.
And when you were there, did you have any stories, or did you witness any bad calls being made, or did you have to make a decision like that, like you did back in that other yard?
I did. One of the things about being in a gang is the more work that you put in, and I hope everybody understands what I mean by work. And what I mean by work is assaulting people, attempts of murder or murder on people, or bringing money in for the gang, or anything like that. So anytime that you put work in for the gang, the more you get trusted. They trust on you, and they wanted me to run my section. And the guys that were running the section, they didn't have any trust in them. And so, because I had been putting work in, and it was recent, I had picked up a name for myself. And so they wanted me to take over that section that I was in, which was, each building is made up of 3 sections: A section, B section, and C section. And there's basically about 20 cells in each section. And the makeup of that housing unit is everything came at once. I got everything and put a handle on this knife and then send it down the way. And when I done it, the guy that I sent the kite and the knife down the way, the guy said that he wasn't going to do it. That they could sell up with him and deal with it. And at this time, anytime you do a move like that in a housing unit, especially with the whites and the Southern Hispanics, they're notified, or the
Number will be monitored and recorded.
that this wasn't any personal problems. This was coming from up top, and this dude needed to go. And I didn't know. I didn't know what the situation was. I wasn't asking any questions. I was asked to do something. I was a gang member. I said, yeah, no problem. I'll take care of it. And I mean, the knife, put the knife together, put a handle on it, and sent it on its way. And what I was supposed to do was send the knife down to the cell, and then after he finished attacking his cellie, I was supposed
You have 60 seconds remaining.
and hide it. so it could be used later. So, this is one of those situations that I knew nothing about. I was just, doing everything I could to get the respect and recognition, from other gang members. I was like, yeah, I got this. And ultimately, I wind up sending the knife down to the guy at the time that he wanted me to. And we're going to cut us off here, so I'll give you a call back, all right? And I'll finish up.
Okay, thank you. We'll be waiting.
Okay.
So I noticed that there's been some issues with the audio. I believe it's on the GTL side, and the reason I say that because earlier on, for like the last few hours, I've been trying to send out messages, and the app doesn't seem to be working. So I'm assuming that they're having some issues over there on their side with the tablets. So I'm assuming that's why it keeps on cutting off. This will probably be our last call for the night, and we'll probably be back on tomorrow. If not, then on Wednesday, probably, depending on what my schedule's like. And for anybody that's listening, if you have any questions that you don't feel like asking in the live chat, you're always more than welcome to reach out to the fellas via the GTL Getting Out app.
This is Global Tellink.
This call is
You have
now
a
being
prepaid
recorded.
call from
Ricky Black.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Tellink.
Yes, sir. Okay. Yeah. 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 I can. I can hear you. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So, I ended with sending the knife down to the guy a few cells down. He agreed to attack his cellie, and I didn't know what the reason, what happened to this guy, why he deserved this or anything like that. But I knew it was my responsibility to send the knife down there, and that's what I did. And I wound up sending the knife down there, and I was fishing with the guy that was going to be attacked. And while I was fishing with him, his cellie attacked him from behind. And from all the noise that I heard, it was, it's a sound, man, that will live with me for the rest of my life. It was pretty sad. this guy was brutally attacked, and he almost lost his life. And when it was done, the guy told me to pull my line, and as I pulled my line back, my fishing line that we fish with in here, it broke, and I pulled back about 5 feet of my line. That's usually white, but it was red. It was nothing but red, and all the cops came in and ran to that particular cell, and my friend, he wind up, the cops told him to back up to the back of the cell, and they opened the door and they pulled his cellmate out, and they pulled him out and laid his cellmate right in front of the cell door. And from what we all thought, we thought the guy had passed away, because they just left him laying there waiting for the ambulance. And here's something sad about prison and politics. As this man was laying there, IGI comes in about 5 minutes later, and they start taking pictures of this man. There's no CPR being done to him to save his life or anything like that. For all intents and purposes, everybody thought the man had died. And they were taking pictures of him for about 5 minutes. And then finally the ambulance showed up, and they wound up picking the guy up and putting him on the gurney and taking him out. And the reason why my line broke is because his body was on top of the line, which the knife was tied to. And so when they picked the guy up, the knife was stuck to his body, and they put him on the gurney, and they took him to the hospital. And I got to tell you, man, that's one of those situations in my life, man, that I wish I had back, that I wish I had the courage to do something else, to make a different decision, maybe go against the grain.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
That I wasn't willing to do that. And but that's just not the decision that I made at that time. And this guy was from Orange County, and he wound up surviving. He came back about a week later, and he was in a wheelchair, for a little while. He wound up surviving, and he wound up feeling back in his feet and his legs and everything, was able to walk. But then after that, me and a couple of my friends wanted to know why a hit was put on this man's life. Why was it so important for his life to be taken? And the reason that they wanted this man killed was because he refused to cell up with another inmate. He didn't want to live with the guy. And he asked the officers if they could place him in another cell, because he didn't want to live with the guy that he was celled up with. And because he'd done that, they considered him a rat for talking to the man and put a hit on his life. And when I rolled in there, they sent me the message in the night to have that dude removed. And they didn't give me any specific reason. They just say, this guy's got to go. He's on the list. He's on the bad news list. Make sure this gets done. And, I did what I thought I should have done at that time as a gang member. And unfortunately, it's one of those moments that you wish you have back in life, because he didn't deserve that. He didn't deserve to be attacked. And it's one of those things that I look back on and reflect on today. And it was one of the reasons I ultimately made the decision to go SNY and get out of the gangs and change my life. Is because if I can't live in a cell that I'm comfortable in without a fear of being attacked, then, what kind of life am I living? You have a right to live in comfort and peace in your own cell. And if someone has a problem with that, then, that's a life that I don't want to live, or business I don't want to be in. So, the guy wound up living, man, but it was one of those situations that I was in because I was a gang member and I was respected and people trusted me to get things done. And, I always got things done, when I was active. And that was one of the things that they look for. They look for loyal individuals to make sure things will get done. And, I'm happy this guy survived, man. But he certainly didn't deserve to be attacked. But I think it was a bad call in the end. It was a bad call to have this guy removed for that.
Man, it was a miracle that he survived. After being laid out there and being waiting for the paramedics to come in, and I'm pretty sure you guys were shocked that he pulled through. He made it, right?
Blew us away, blew our mind, because my friends, he was laid out in front of my neighbor's cell, and they could see him. And they said he wasn't breathing or anything. So when they came in to take pictures of him, they were taking pictures of a dead body, they thought, because he didn't have a pulse. And I'm assuming, and that's why no CPR was done on him. One of the female staff actually wound up throwing up in a garbage can because the smell of blood was in the air. It was so thick. And it was a nasty, brutal scene. And when people get assaulted and murdered like that in their cell, it's a bloody scene, and it's ugly. It's something that you see in horror movies. And yeah, we all thought this man passed away, man, but he survived, man, and I hope he's doing good in life. And if he's listening, or his family, I absolutely want to apologize, for my involvement, for what I did back then.
And when these incidents happen, did you pick up any more time over them, or what was the outcome?
I didn't. My friend wound up getting 7 years, 7.5 years, I believe he wound up getting for doing that.
And you speaking about that now, is there any way that this could affect you negatively, as far as like being brought up on new charges?
Well, I debriefed. I went through the debriefing process before I came to the SMY side, and these are things that I've already spoke on when I debrief. So they already know about them. They already know my involvement as a gang member of the things that I've done. And I've only spoken on the things that I've done. I can't speak for other people. I can only speak for the things that I've done. And I've done that, to clear my own conscience, to take responsibility for what I've done. But, could I be charged for it at some point? I'm not sure. I mean, I haven't had no charges yet because of it, and they're aware of the things I've done as a gang member. But I'm certain, I'm sure if they wanted to, they probably could,
And how many years ago was this? I could look up the statute. It was so it wasn't a murder. So I'm guessing the statute of limitations
No.
is not so hopefully it's already past the statute of limitations.
Yeah, I think.
Because I definitely wouldn't want to get you in a
I
wreck
believe this
over.
happened. No, I wouldn't speak on it, and put myself in a situation, or put you in what you're doing in a situation either. But this happened 20 years ago, and I'm sure the statutes have run out by now.
Okay, that's a huge relief. I'm not trying to get any
Yeah.
blowback over getting somebody more time. Like
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a moment ago, you mentioned the debriefing process. So what you're saying is that when you debrief, you don't necessarily need to speak on what anybody else is doing, as long as you tell them that what you participated in, then that's good enough for them, right?
Yeah. So usually you have a choice. If you want to throw a bunch of people under the bus and get a bunch of people in trouble, you can. You can do that. I chose not to. I chose the life that I was in myself. No one made that decision for me. And I've never been one to point the finger and blame other people for my situation. I've always been one to want to take responsibility for my own actions and the things that I've done. And I take I'm not someone who likes to get other people in trouble, or make their lives any more miserable than what it already is. Because I know what it is in here. I know what gangs are in here, and I know what this life is for everyone and their family. And the last thing I want to do is hurt somebody else for my agenda or for my benefit. If I hurt anybody, I want to hurt myself, but I also want to take responsibility for the things that I've done.
Thank you for shedding some light on that, and I really appreciate you being open with us. With the questions I ask, and your willingness to answer these questions, and hopefully it helps somebody in a positive way, whether they're heading down that path, or thinking about it, or things of that nature. Hopefully it impacts somebody, and it stops them even before they get to that point. That's ultimately what the goal that I have here. I know that the people that are listening are a little bit older within our age range, but somehow hopefully it'll either open up their minds to
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
to help somebody else out that they might see going down that path, or somehow it gets into the right hands, and they're able to convey that message to somebody that
You have 60 seconds remaining.
would be going down that route. So I just heard
Hey.
the 60-second mark. I'll go ahead and give them the microphone over to you.
Hey, I wanted to say, you were saying earlier if anyone wanted to contact me or something like that. I'm also on rightaprisoner.com. And if you want to see my bio or see what I look like or anything like that, you can go to rightaprisoner.com and check me out. And you can also contact me through them if you would like. But I want to thank all the listeners, and also I just want to apologize for the things that I've done back in the day. When I was a gang member, and I'm truly sorry that I had to share some of those things with you guys. But it's part of the process of taking responsibility, but also showing my remorse for the things I've done. So I wanted to thank you for giving me that opportunity, James.
You're welcome. And to everybody that's listening, I want to go ahead and wish you guys a good night, and you'll be hearing from us soon. So within the next either day or two, I'll go ahead and set up some more live. So you guys go ahead and enjoy the rest of your night, and thank you.